everybody, welcome to Drive-Thru 418. Today we're going to take a look at The Little Prince Rising to the Stars, and this is a 2 to 6 player family game and designed by Antoine Bauza and Bruno Cathala. It's a Ludonat game. I believe it's their second Little Prince game, and it's also being distributed by Asmodee in the United States. So let's take a look at how the game works, and then I'll tell you what I think of it. So as I said, The Little Prince Rising to the Stars is a family game. It's based on The Little Prince children's stories, which I have not read. In this particular case, you are following the little girl's wake as she goes to meet the prince. So you're kind of chasing after. It kind of feels sort of like a Peter Pan style story. Now here you can see the board constructed. This is one of the coolest boards I've ever seen. And there's a variety of components. You can see some cards, some tokens. Basically you're flying from the left-hand side, going through the clouds, and then landing finally at the star on the right-hand side. And players will take a plane of their color and stack them here at the starting space. And then each player will take a deck of cards in their color, and this will form their hand of cards, and each of the hands is identical. And you'll be playing cards to move your plane a certain number of spaces. And when you play a card, you can move up to the number on the card. You don't have to move exactly that number. And you'll be moving along and then possibly landing on special spaces, even landing on other players. But as players take their turns, whoever is currently in last place or the furthest behind is going to be their turn. So it's not going to necessarily move around the table. It's just whoever is on the top of the stack that happens to be the furthest back is going to take their turn. So it's possible to take multiple turns in a row. And there will be special cloud spaces that you can land on. And this one will tell you to collect 2 points. And I should have said each player starts with 1 point because it is possible to actually lose points in this game. The next type of space you might land on are these here with the dove. And when you land on a space with the dove, you actually will draw a card from a special deck of cards and add that to your hand. So it's a way of replenishing your hand and giving you more options on your turn. And these do have some different kind of special abilities, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then finally we have these spaces with a spyglass. And when you land on one of these, you'll go and dig through this face down pile of spyglasses, and this can be one of 3 things. If you draw one of these that shows a negative symbol, you'll actually lose this many points. If you draw the symbol here with a snake, you'll actually be able to steal this many points from another player. And if you draw the plus symbol, then you'll be able to add the indicated number of points to your supply. The other thing to note is there's 3 barriers that you can cross during the game. And every time you cross one of these, you'll be able to choose one of these story tiles. And you can see some are face up and some are face down. You can choose a face up tile if you want, or you can take a risk and try to choose one of the face down tiles, hoping that there's more points on it than what's available. So there's a variety of tiles to choose from. This one here you can see gives you 3 points. And there's a special one here with the fox and the prince. You can see this gives you 1 point on the left. But if you're able to get both of these, you'll get a total of 8 points. 1 point for each star on the different tiles, and then 6 more points for combining them. And the end goal, of course, is to reach the star. The first player to reach the star will be able to grab one of these wedges. And these are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 points. So they're going to want to grab the one with the most stars. And they'll get their first choice of this, and then they'll be done waiting for the other players to finish the game. If you run out of your deck of cards, then you also have finished the game as well, and you may not have made it to the star. And there are not enough cards here. If we take a look at your hand, everybody has the same hand. You have cards 1 through 5. If you just played those cards and never got any new cards, then you would not reach the star at the end. However, there's a few ways to mitigate that. The first thing that we saw is you can actually land, of course, on the doves and get new cards into your hand. So I showed you one of these before. Let's take a look at some of the different cards you can find here. Well, you can get bigger cards like the 7 here, and then also the 6. And of course, this gives you a lot more movement options. And we've also got this card here. And what this allows you to do is move in front of, in the space in front of, whoever's currently in the lead. And this makes for some interesting play, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then finally we have this one, which gives us a choice. We can either move up to 3 spaces, or we can move to the next dove. So whatever the next dove happens to be, we can just move our plane directly there. Now the last thing to know is if you move your ship on top of another player, you don't get the special action from that particular cloud, but you get to take a card randomly from that player, and then you can give them a card, even the card you just took from them. Okay, so that is Little Prince Rising to the Stars, and what do I think of it? I really enjoyed it. I actually kind of like it better than the other Little Prince game, which I wasn't like a huge fan of. I didn't really hate. It was just kind of got on rails a little bit. This one I enjoy though, because it's got some interesting sort of movement ideas. So it's got a sort of a split paradox of like, I don't want to finish too quickly because I want to be able to sort of gobble up the points and get some of the tiles and add together the story tiles, get the right story tiles. So you're trying to kind of slow boat it and maybe take multiple turns and let people kind of get ahead of you and leave some open spots, but it's very difficult to do, especially as you add more players. But it has that whole sort of tension between that. And do I go and try to get the extra card because that's going to get me even to the last star, or do I land on the spot that's going to give me 2 or 3 points as opposed to this other one that only gives me 1? So it's got some of those decisions. Now, they're not super heavy or anything, but I will say that you definitely want to have more players on the board than you do less, because it's just more interesting that way. I mean, I played it with 2, and it's okay, it's fine, it's serviceable, but you just kind of miss out on all the extra players in the game. And I would play this with 6, I haven't, but it's not really going to take that long once people kind of play it once and then sort of, okay, we got it, you know, we're going to bang this out. So it works as a nice sort of filler game, which is cool. And the components are awesome. I don't know what it is. I really like this board. It might be because I'm a Super Mario Galaxy fan, which was for the Wii, and it kind of reminds me of the Shooting Star and stuff, sort of feels kind of 3D with that. So I like that. It's kind of a neat thing. They didn't just kind of, you know, have a board. You can kind of pull the ends off the star, which is kind of cool. And I think kids will like that. And I like kind of the matching of the stories. You know, we combine the fox and the prince to kind of get that bonus. And that's like kind of another sort of decision to sort of weigh in. Like, okay, where do I move? I can use this card, and it's going to get me exactly where I want to go, and I can hopefully grab the fox here, and the prince is over there. And they give you a count of all the story tiles in the game, so you know, okay, there's still 1 fox left. We don't see it on the board. It's one of those hidden ones. You know, do I try to grab that or get lucky, or try to grab the one with the king on it that's got more? So my point is, there's a lot of decisions to sort of go into this. Now, it's not going to necessarily have a direct impact on your victory, but it is going to keep you entertained through the course of play. So I think as a family game, this actually works very well. The components, again, work very well. I think it's great. And this is something that I'll definitely, you know, enjoy as a filler as well, sort of as a gamer, you know, kind of playing as a filler. So I would definitely take a look at it. If this feels like it's right in your alley, I think you'll have a good time with it, and there'll be enough to kind of chew on and keep you entertained for about 30 minutes or so. So thanks.